Woody Allen broke his silence at 89 not through a press release, not through a statement, but through quiet, private conversations that are only now coming to light. Sources close to the legendary director say he was deeply distraught and genuinely stunned by her death, stunned in a way that surprised even those who knew him best. What struck many as curious was not his grief, but his shock. How could he not have known? They had known each other for 56 years. They had made 9 films. Together, she had been his greatest muse, his most loyal defender, and the one woman who never truly left his life, even after the romance ended. And yet, when he learned she was gone, he reportedly said only one thing at first: "I didn't even know." She was sick. What Allen has begun revealing now in the quiet aftermath of her passing fundamentally changes how we understand their relationship. This is not simply the story of a director and his actress. It is the story of a love so complicated, so messy, and so deeply human that it could not survive as romance, but refused to die as connection. Their story began in 1969, when Woody Allen was casting his Broadway play Play It Again, Sam. He had seen dozens of actresses talented, beautiful, competent, but none had stayed with him. Then Diane Keaton walked in. She was 23, newly arrived from California, dressed in clothes that didn't quite match, speaking in a way that felt illogical yet strangely honest. Allen later described his first impression as adorable, funny, totally original, real and fresh. What he didn't say publicly, but friends would later reveal, was that he was terrified. Terrified because she was everything he wasn't. She was light where he was dark, optimistic where he was cynical, free where he was imprisoned by neurosis. He cast her almost immediately, not just because she was right for the role, but because he couldn't imagine not seeing her again. Within weeks, they were dating. Within months, she had moved into his apartment. Friends gave the relationship 6 months, maybe less. On paper, it made no sense. He was the anxious, analytical Jewish intellectual from Brooklyn. She was the sunny California girl who said Leah and meant it sincerely. He lived inside his thoughts. She lived in the moment. Somehow, impossibly, it worked at least for a while. Those early years, from 1969 to 1971, were later described by Allen as the happiest of his life. With Diane, he felt seen not as Woody Allen, the comedian or director, but as Alan Konigsberg, the insecure kid from Brooklyn who never felt good enough. She had a way of looking at him, really looking at him, that made him feel, briefly, like maybe he was okay. They walked through Central Park for hours. She found wonder in ordinary things, clouds, dogs, children playing, and he couldn't understand how happiness could exist without explanation. Living together, however, revealed fractures. Allen's control surfaced slowly, disguised as care. He wanted to know where she was, who she spoke to, what she was thinking. He tried to refine her, intellectualize her, mold her into the kind of woman who existed in his scripts. Diane resisted not with anger, but by remaining stubbornly herself. When he corrected her grammar, she repeated the mistake with a smile. When he suggested better books, she stuck to photography magazines. When he criticized her clothes, she dressed even more strangely the next day. It drove him crazy. It also made him love her more. She was the one thing he could not control. The breaking point came in 1971 when Diane auditioned for The Godfather. Allen dismissed it at first, calling it a gangster movie, telling her she belonged with him, not in California. But something compelled her to go. She got the part of Kay Adams and accepted it almost immediately. When she told Allen she was leaving for months, he didn't yell. He went silent. To him, it felt like betrayal. To her, it felt like survival. While filming, she grew closer to Al Pacino, whose presence was everything Allen wasn't physical. Emotional, instinctive. The attraction was real, and Allen sensed it even from thousands of miles away. When she returned to New York, she was different, more confident, less willing to defer. Their dynamic never recovered. They officially ended the relationship in 1972, though accounts differ on who left whom. What is certain is that Diane was tired of being analyzed, tired of being reshaped, tired of feeling like a project instead of a partner. Most relationships would have ended there. Theirs did not. In 1977, Alan made Annie Hall and insisted Diane star in it. The film was not loosely inspired by their relationship, it was their relationship. The arguments were real. The awkwardness was real. Even her wardrobe was her own. He put their private life on screen and asked her to relive it for the world. The film was hailed as genius, but for Diane, it was painful. It also rewrote history. In real life, their breakup was unresolved and raw. On screen, it became poetic and mutual. Alan later admitted the film wasn't a love letter, it was an exorcism. One that didn't work over the next 4 decades. Diane appeared in 8 more Woody Allen films. 42 years of collaboration after the romance ended. An arrangement that shouldn't have worked, but did. She had other relationships, other loves, but creatively, she remained his standard. Every actress was compared to her. Even his most celebrated later muses never replaced her. That connection followed Diane into her long, turbulent relationship with Al Pacino. Though she loved him deeply, some part of her remained tethered to Alan in ways she couldn't fully explain. He was no longer her lover, but he was never entirely gone. Then came the accusations. When the world turned on Woody Allen, Hollywood abandoned him almost overnight. Everyone except Diane Keaton. In 2018, she publicly defended him, knowing exactly what it would cost her. She lost work. She lost friends. She became controversial. Herself, but she never recanted. She never apologized. She believed him, not out of blind loyalty, but because she believed she knew him better than most. Alan never asked for her defense. She gave it freely. In the final year of her life, Diane's health declined quietly. She told almost no one. When she died suddenly, Alan was blindsided. He attended her funeral privately, bringing a framed photograph from 1970, both of them laughing on set, unguarded and joyful. Witnesses said he wept uncontrollably. Later, friends learned he had written her a letter she never received. In private conversations afterward, Alan confessed things he had never admitted before. That he was too controlling. That he confused love with ownership. That she was right to leave. That without her, his work lacked its soul. I should have just let her be, he said again and again. Their last phone call haunted him most. She had told him she didn't regret any of it, the relationship, the films, even defending him. I was who I was, and you were who you were, she said. Simple, honest, final. At 89, Woody Allen wants people to know that Annie Hall was never the truth. It was his fantasy. That Diane Keaton was better than any character he ever wrote. That she loved him as he was, even when he failed to love her that way in return. Their relationship defies categorization. Too intimate to be friendship. Too unresolved to be past. Too painful to be present. She was his muse, his conscience, and the one who got away. He was her mentor, her collaborator, and the man she never fully left. Some loves are too complicated to work, but too powerful to end. Woody and Diane proved that and left behind art, regret, and questions that will outlast them both.